Now, let's take you live to Durban, where a two-day summit has officially kicked off to celebrate International Women's Day, which is, of course, always on the 8th of March. That's tomorrow. This year's theme includes breaking the bias with a special focus on empowering women in the digital world. Well, for more on what's on the agenda, let's go live now to my colleague, reporter Lethiwe Mdluli. Lethiwe, very good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Just take us through what has been discussed in the summit so far.
Well, Braden, today's focus was mainly on sexual harassment in the workplace and how government can do better to implement some of the policies that are already there to help women in the workplace. Other focuses, of course, were on gender-based violence, which has been a scourge in South Africa, and it's been a problem for many years now. And the keynote address was by the Director General in the Presidency, Phindile Baleni, who did make a mention on some of the implementations that government is currently working on. When she was delivering that keynote address, she did touch on the fact that as government, they're trying to improve on their service delivery, especially when it comes to the scourge of GBV and femicide, and also addressing issues within the working space where you find women who are working in corporates, who are working in the public service, but they are still faced with a lot of discrimination within the workplace. And some of that discrimination includes, of course, bullying, sexual harassment, and managers not understanding that women have other jobs, such as children, which are full-time jobs, by the way. So the DG was very direct in saying that as government, they're trying to improve on this, and they are hoping that the society as well will try and help everyone who needs help. And of course, tomorrow it will be International Women's Day, where they will be highlighting some of these problems that women in general have to deal with. While she was speaking about the purpose of the summit and what it's going to serve, this is what she had to say.
Summits, by their very nature, are about people talking. So sometimes we talk endlessly, sometimes we talk with a purpose. The three objectives of this summit have been outlined very clearly, and I started with them. It's about the role of women in the building of state capacity. It's about empowerment of women once they're in those positions. It's about 4IR. I'm sure the resolutions that are going to come out of here are going to be converted into policies, practices, and action points to be implemented by the HODs, who, by the way, have certain authority sitting here. And it's about us looking at each other in the eye and saying, are we doing the right things as the public servants? Are we doing the things we're supposed to do? Because the policies are there, the frameworks are there. It is in the doing where we are failing. But let's talk about what we're going to do to correct that.
Now, Lethiwe, the scourge of gender-based violence has been an issue, of course, for the country for years now. In fact, the president has described it as an epidemic. And has this been discussed today?
It's been one of the key topics that has been discussed, Braden, and the DG did touch on the fact that there are policies in place, but what they have found is that there is a failure or a miscommunication when it comes to implementing these policies, because overall the policies are there to help your everyday person who is affected by these problems such as GBV. And of course, I did ask her about that lack of implementation for those policies, and they're saying that, of course, they're trying to address that, but it's going to take some time, and they also need society to work together with them to try and fight the scourge of GBV. More recently here in KZN, Braden, we discovered that 4 women were kidnapped and then trafficked from Gauteng to Durban, and those young ladies were rescued over the weekend. So this counts as part of the problem that the country is currently dealing with when it comes to human trafficking, gender-based violence, and femicide as well, and also sexual harassment in the workplace. And the DG did say that these problems are something that they have to deal with as governments. But of course, I asked her about some of the implementation problems, and this is what she had to say.
The President has just signed into law 3 pieces of legislation, amendments to various laws to make sure that gender-based violence is highlighted and lifted as a crime in of itself. The police have been urged to improve their service delivery in that area. so that women of the country are protected. However, government cannot do this alone. Government cannot end the scourge of violence against women and children alone. Society must play its part. There's something that's terribly wrong in a society where boys, men believe that they can rape siblings, young children in their families, their partners, their mothers, their grandmothers. There's something that we need to correct as a society. So in partnership, government and society must focus on the new pandemic that's facing us, that is gender-based violence.
Okay, that comment on GBV, they're ending that report from my colleague, this reporter Lethiwe Mdluli in Durban.